everybody, it's Andrea Mercia, aka Ann Loam, and welcome to my studio. Today's going to be a very quick video. I have had many people ask me questions about varnishing and questions about how to varnish larger pieces, and so this video is going to be it. So for all of my fluid acrylic pours, I believe that this particular form of artwork looks better glossy when it's dry. I like it to have a wet look to it. I think it just shows it off better. One of the issues is that archival varnishes are extremely expensive. So both Liquitex and Golden, and there's a couple of other companies that put out archival UV protectant sprays. They usually run somewhere in the neighborhood of $18 to $20 Canadian. And there's nothing wrong with those products. That's what they're there for. However, they're very expensive, and I do very large pieces, so I don't use the archival products. Now, as an artist who teaches, I can only recommend to you that you use archival products, both archival paints, archival canvases, archival finishes and mediums. Otherwise, like I just, with all good integrity, I can't tell you not to use archival products. I don't use archival products, but if someone was to ask me my professional advice, I would have to recommend archival products to them. With that being said, I can't afford archival products because my pieces are so large, so I have come up with some other solutions. The solutions that I've come up with regards to a spray varnish is that I've been using acrylic varnishes from my local hardware store, Home Depot or Lowe's. Here in Canada, you can have the same stores in the United States. Up here we also have Home Hardware, and in the spray paint section you can get clear acrylic gloss finishes, and I have been using those for a year. I always tell the clients that purchase my artwork to never hang in direct sunlight to protect it, and to only use a very like slightly damp cloth just to wipe off dust or fingerprints from little people or whatever, and that, you know, it should be good for the life of the painting for a couple of reasons. One, because I usually put on 2 or 3 coats, and 2, because the paint that I use is an acrylic paint. It itself is plastic. Acrylic paint is pigment suspended in a polymer, which is in fact a plastic. So once it's cured, it becomes plastic and it's fine. So there's that. Then what happened was I went to really big pieces. I started doing pieces in the 4 foot by 5 foot range, and I was finding that the expense of the sprays was becoming mildly obnoxious, because even though it's half the price of an archival spray, it's still $8 or $9 for a good acrylic clear gloss finish. And for a large canvas where I needed to put 2 or 3 coats on, it was getting prohibitively expensive as well. So I found a guy online on YouTube who showed me this really cool trick. I'm going to show you. His information is down in the dibbly-doo. You can go there and see what he does. He does some really awesome artwork, and then he did this one video on how to varnish large canvases, which was right up my alley. So that's what we're going to do here right now. It's really easy. I'm going to show you the first layer. Please note that I usually put 3 coats on to make sure that I get a really good finish. So I will go this way once, and then this way once. And usually the first time I go in a circle just to make sure that I hit everything, including the sides. So this is what he does. First of all, he uses a gloss medium and varnish. I happen to use the Liquitex one. It's my favorite. Golden makes one. I believe Winston & Newton makes one. There's some fine art stores in Canada and the States, such as Curry's and Desserts, Dick Blick, and Cheap Joe's, that make a house brand of gloss, medium, and varnish. You can use any of those. The Liquitex is a little bit more expensive, but I like the fact that it doesn't smell, and I usually do that indoors. So what you do is you get your gloss medium varnish, and you get a sponge. You want a sponge that has really tiny holes in it. It took me a while to find this one because a lot of sponges nowadays are those plastic scrubbies, or they have really big holes in them. You want one that is a very fine hole sponge. I found this little square one. It fits perfectly into my hand. It's great. It is damp to the touch, so I wet it with water, wrung it out really well so it's just a little bit damp. And what you do is, you put the varnish on the sponge, and then you apply it to the canvas. Now, as I said, the first time I go on, and I do the sides as well, I go in circles just to make sure that I hit everything. Try not to go over the areas that you've already done. Try to just move forward with a wet edge. And just, again, get the sides. And then just keep going. And what'll happen is this will put on a very fine, thin coat. You don't have to worry about brush marks because the sponge doesn't leave any. And you don't have to worry about over applying and possibly cracking the finish. That's a very, very thin coat. Oh, there's a little lump right there. Okay, so I will let that dry for a couple of hours, and then I'll come back and I'll do another coat and let that dry for a couple of hours, and then I will put on a final coat. And that's it. And I've used this on 4-foot by 4-foot canvases. I find that with the damp sponge, you don't go through as much medium as if you put this on a dry sponge and then the sponge soaks all of your medium up. I do recommend that as soon as you're finished, you take this sponge and really, really rinse it out well so that it doesn't stiffen up with the medium that's in it. And again, just keep drying and putting on another light coat and drying and putting on a light coat until you get the medium finish that you want, whether matte or gloss. I prefer gloss for these kinds of paintings. And when you have the finish that you want, just let it sit overnight to fully cure and you're good to go. So I hope this has been helpful. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe so that you can follow me on my artful journey. I always appreciate you being here. I'll talk to you later.